Thank you for coming on to the show, man. I am so glad we finally got over those issues and we'll get you on here. How you
Yeah,
been?
going good, man. Life's been good with it.
Yeah, I can tell. Like, it must be nice to pursue a job such as yours, just to eat everywhere in the state and possibly the South. I mean, that's an ambition right there. That's a really good
Yeah,
ambition to have.
yeah, and there's so much out there. It's we always talk about my wife and I, who are actually the ones behind Eating Alabama. We always talk that there's so much. Of course, we live in Hoover and central part of the state, just right outside of Birmingham. And it's like there's so much just around us, and
Mhm.
it's kind of it's a good thing and a bad thing. So it's like a lot of people we've had reach out and they're like, "Hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that?" And we're like, "We ain't get there yet." So because we can only do so much, we're even though we're
Right.
two people, we don't eat out every night. We do home cooking and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been a fun journey so far.
Yeah. Now, how did that journey get started? Like, what really caused that? Was it just like something you did and then someone was like, I like what you're doing, you should do something more? And then you were like, yeah, maybe I will. Like, what was the antithesis of all that?
Well, we've always, my wife and I, we've been together for almost 25 years, and back when we were dating, in college, and it was like our thing to do was to just drive around and find new places to eat. Um, she grew up overseas. Her dad worked for the State Department, so her palate was very cultured, if you will.
Mhm.
She's also half Chinese, so her mom cooked a lot of great Chinese food. So
Oh,
when
yeah.
she moved to Birmingham to go to college, where we met, it was like she was searching out more than just, obviously she wanted to try the local, you know southern fare, if you will,
Mhm.
but she still missed the, Italian food, or good Chinese food or something like that. And so that's kind of where our, I guess, journey began. I mean, it started back when we were dating in the, early 90s. And from there, over the years, like many people, we did just grew with us, especially when, food TV came along, and then just different restaurants start popping up here and there. And as we grew older and our kids grew older, they started playing. We had two daughters that play travel softball. So we've traveled all over the state of Alabama and all over the South. Not to mention my wife, who's a government employee. By day, she at times has opportunities to travel for her job, and I would always tag along. And our thing was anytime we traveled, whether it be for vacation, whether it be for her work or travel ball, we always seeked out local fare. We weren't the ones when the team was wanting to go to, Outback or Ruby Tuesdays. We were like, have at it. We'll see you out the ballpark in the morning. We're going to go check out this little mom and pop diner, or, this barbecue joint or something like that, because that's just what we always like to do. And of course, with the coming of social media, we had our own personal pages where we would share, where we were going to eat, so Instagram has always been a big thing. I've been on the Instagram scene since day one, pretty much. Um, just my personal account. And like I said, we would always just share on our personal feed places where we're going. And it was around 2018. And when that, you start getting people to interact with you, friends and family members start asking us, where should we go for date night? Where should we do this? So, in 2019 or 2018 is when we kind of come up with the idea. Our daughters were kind of winding down their softball careers. And we thought, this would be another opportunity to uh, continue our journeys around the state, and trying different restaurants out, and and sharing with a greater audience. So instead of just having our friends and family members, we wanted to be out there to just anybody. We wanted to gain more followers and gain more people, and kind of show them some of the food that Alabama has. And as we kind of dove into it, we noticed there really wasn't anybody doing the whole state. There was obvious social media influencers in Birmingham, Mobile, maybe Montgomery, but there was nobody really kind of covering the state. So that just kind of obviously excited us, because new opportunity for us to kind of jump in. We don't really have, I don't really want to say we don't have a lot of uh, competition, because it's not really a competition in a sense, but it's just, it gave us an opportunity to showcase Alabama food to the people of Alabama as well as those outside the state of Alabama, and areas and parts of the state that they may never, have visited or may never even thought about visiting. So that's pretty
Wow.
much how it started in a
Wow,
long sentence.
that's good, man. Look, that the more detail, the better. That's what these long form conversations are about, to flesh out every detail.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
I'm noticing some similarities between you and me, because like I would you say that before dating your current wife or your wife in general, just uh, would you say that you sought out these other eateries, or were you just kind of
Not
complacent?
really. I was pretty complacent. I mean, I
Same,
grew up in
same.
Bessemer, Alabama, which is, just down the road from Hoover, where I live today. And, I grew up in just a normal Southern home. Mom cooked out of
Hmm.
the garden. We bought from the local grocery store. Um, we don't really have that cultural rooted in our family. We're kind of been here for generations, so there's not that Italian kind of, maybe ancestry that we got that our family brought over with that food, or maybe like I said, my wife is Chinese, that cultural type stuff. So the majority of the food we ate growing up was just, my mom was a Betty Crocker mom. Everything she cooked was like
Yeah.
casseroles, and then of
Hmm.
course just your fried chicken and your pot roasts and just your normal Southern fare. So before then, I mean, before I met my wife, really, I have had Mexican and Chinese a few times, but outside of that, that was pretty much it. I never really thought about anything else. Now, I will say that my interest grew in my teenage years because there was a TV show that used to come on. I used to take what they called co-op classes or work release, where I would get out of class at 12 o'clock to go to work. And of course, my shift usually didn't start till like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. So I would go home, and there was a show on A&E called Great Chefs of the World. And that was the first time where I've really began to kind of see that there was more to food than just a plate, and there was, this artistic side of what is being placed in front of you, not to mention the ingredients and the techniques that go along. So, those years, and then of course, like I said, meeting my wife and kind of her introducing me to some different cuisines and different flavors. That's really where the journey really began for me personally.
Okay. Yeah, because the reason I said that, the reason there's so many similarities I'm finding is because my wife is actually Vietnamese. So same
Oh,
kind of
cool,
thing
sweet.
here for me, like
Yeah,
McDonald's, home cooked the freezer restaurant or freezer meals for eating, some sandwiches maybe,
yeah,
but like since dating and being married to her, like it's been just at the minimum, it's been two restaurants a week. And then she's like, oh, there's this new
yeah.
place over here. I want to go. I'm like, babe, that's an hour and a half away. She's like, but it's new and let's go try it out. And I'm like, yeah,
Let's
fuck it.
do it.
But
Yeah,
so a lot of different stuff, a lot of new foods. Yeah. And especially like when we go to visit her family, which I'm going to do in about a month or so, we're going to go to Boston. Like their Chinese food
oh,
is
sweet,
like
awesome.
so like, and a lot of people don't really realize this. And then when I say it, they kind of get offended. But as someone with an Asian wife, you might understand where I'm coming from. A lot of Chinese food, Korean food, Indian
Mm.
food, a lot of that's not ethnically that. It's kind of
No,
watered
no,
down
it's
for
it's
like
been
the
it's
taste.
been Americanized.
Yeah, it kind of watered down for like white people or something, like maybe like
Yeah,
a
that's
quarter of
exactly
the
right.
spiciness. But I've been into some
Yeah,
garlic spice chicken, and like my mouth was like calling an ambulance. Like it was like that
yeah,
hurts, but it tastes so
yeah,
good. I ate a bowl of
yeah.
pho from a pho place and I started overheating. Like I was sweating profusely because it was
That's
just,
when you know it's good though.
it came straight off the boiler. Like I was like, am I having heat stroke? Am I having a hot flash? Like what the fuck is
Yeah,
this? It's
yeah,
wild.
yeah. It'll kick your ass for sure if you're not prepared for it. That's my mother-in-law, she did own a Chinese restaurant for a few years, and when she was running it, that was her biggest complaint. She was like, all the American people, they want it heavily sauced, and because
Yeah.
sauces are very minimal in China. I mean, it's,
Hmm.
they have a few dishes that have some sauces in it, but that's here. It's like it's got to be dripping in like this thick
Right.
gravy, and she, of course,
It's
she would make it the way they wanted it. But I'm very fortunate enough that I've been able to eat her food for the past 25 plus years. So
mhm.
I know what good Chinese and or good Asian food in general and tastes like, and it's been fun too because we've been able to introduce a lot of friends and family members to what real Asian food is, and the different flavors that are really totally different. I mean, there are some similarities here and there, but a lot of the stuff my mother-in-law cooks is
Only
is
look,
really totally different than what you can get.
yeah, only there's only the similarities because you've had both sides, but it's just like if like a Chinese person came in like to a because my wife hates Panda Express. She's like, this is a sin
Oh
to
yeah,
Chinese food. Like, this is not
yeah,
Chinese food. This is an
yeah,
abomination. Which I'm like, they had to make it that. I mean, if they had
yeah.
like actual Chinese food, like there would be some
Oh
like
yeah. Nobody would
Hispanic
touch it.
grandmas that would be like, yeah, this is the shit, but that's it.
Yeah, yeah. That's it.
Like there are
Yeah,
some
and we
Hispanics that like
tried.
candied peppers, like they eat candied peppers,
Oh
and
yeah,
then like really hot peppers that are candied. Like they would be like, yeah, this
yeah,
is kind of nice, but they couldn't eat there enough to keep it all afloat, so they have to dull it down.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, when my mother-in-law had that restaurant years ago, my wife tried to convince her, mom, try to cook some more authentic home stuff, but she was too scared to do so. She was afraid,
Hmm.
the diners wouldn't prepare it, and rightfully they might not have been at that point in time. I think people thanks to different TV shows like Anthony Bourdain or Andrew Zimmerman, that it's kind of gotten people's interest up, and so you're seeing more authentic places. Now, I mean, Birmingham still does not really have an authentic Chinese restaurant.
No,
We have one that
I'd be shocked.
actually a friend. Yeah, there was one that actually a friend of my mother-in-law's opened up. He has since sold it, and it did have some authentic stuff mixed in with the normal Americanized food. But yeah, most of the time, if we want good, home style cooking. It's if we can't get it from her mother, we'll go to Atlanta or somewhere like that where you
Yeah,
can find the real deal
Atlanta might have
restaurants.
5 or 6. Like I don't even know if
Actually,
they have like
no,
really
they've got a bunch, man. Yeah, you've got a whole section
nice.
on Buford at Highway that is just an international section. I mean, it's anywhere from Chinese and Vietnamese,
Is that
Thai,
near the
even
Hong
Middle
Kong
Eastern.
market?
It's not far. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
So
far
yeah,
at
I know
all
exactly
from
what you're talking about.
yeah, it's just a stretch of just international food, really. I mean, like I said, you can go
Hmm.
down it, and there's several really great dim sum restaurants and just authentic Chinese places. But there again, I mean, it just like many places, and I've talked about this on my show before. Montgomery has got some couple of pretty good Korean restaurants,
Oh
and the reason is
yeah.
because the Hyundai plant. Once the Hyundai
Yep.
plant came
Hmm.
in,
Yep.
those. People came over and they set up shop, so there's like a small little K-town that they've got down there. And it's like,
It's
anytime you have
nice.
a big business come in, a lot of times you get that ethnic food to follow because those people that are working for
That's what they
that are
want.
from whatever country, they want a little taste of home. Yeah, they want something that's
Hmm.
going to, I mean, obviously they're going to want to try the American food. They want to try the barbecue and the Southern fried chickens, but yeah, they're going to want to taste of home every now and then. And fortunate for us, we've been able to benefit from that.
When they open that Kmart, I'm or that K, no, the H Mart. Oh
H Mart, yeah.
yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah, I love H Mart.
dude.
The one in
Have you
Atlanta
seen
is
those?
absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah, no. There was like I have never. So like this is when you know you've become an adult when like basic kitchenware starts to fascinate you. But there was this
Yes.
Korean like the Facebook. I remember a couple of months on Facebook, everybody was freaking out over this giant 44-inch above sink drying rack that was just
Yeah.
fantastic. And then they've got these pot sets that are glass the whole way through so you can see
Yeah.
the vegetables bubbling up in there. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
looks nice.
Yeah. Yeah. They got some really cool cookware and stuff
Oh
that
my God, it's
yeah,
so
like you said,
good.
you gotta go to H Mart or somewhere like that. But the thing I
Mm-hmm.
love about H Mart, especially the big one in Atlanta, is they've got this little food hall. And I mean, it's like,
Uh,
it's amazing. I mean,
It
it's
does
like
not
these
disappoint.
little stalls that have so many different just flavors. And I mean, every time we go, we have to get like a little bit, maybe not from every stall, but a little bit from a lot of them. I can't just go to one and get something. I got to get like a little bit from each one.
Dude. And another thing that I will say about the difference between Asian cuisine and American cuisine, the two different styles, and you're going to get this, this is not making sense much now, but you're going to get it when I say it. The difference of how each culture, specifically Korean, cooks rice is
Mm,
like if everyone just started cooking rice the way Koreans did with their rice cookers, like no one like, and then someone
hmm.
served you like Southern boiled rice or Uncle Ben's, like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
we would arrest them for crimes against humanity.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, no, a really good uh, rice cooker is needed in every Asian household, and we even abandoned ours, which I hate to say that, years ago, and went to when the whole hot pot or the hot pot, the Instapot phase, craze came
That's
around. So my
close.
wife
That's
bought one,
close.
and it is, but
It's
we
not.
finally just had to go back and buy another. Yeah, we just like, you know what? It does a better job than, like you said, the old boil or whatever you want to say, or just
Ugh.
boiling it in the on the stovetop. But yeah, it's nothing like an an actual authentic, really
And
good
that's
rice
even
cooker. So yeah, we ended up going back to that.
and that's even if these savages even wash it properly.
It's right. You got to watch it. You got to watch it and drain it and
They
watch it and
don't
drain it and watch it and
know.
drain it, man.
They
Three
haven't
times.
been
Yeah.
informed. It's so bad. Like, cause like it's literally like you could, because I went because there's nothing like picking up a 50-pound bag of Three Ladies white jasmine
Yes.
rice and that just be a year's worth of rice. I'm like,
Oh
people
yeah.
underestimate like really food insecure areas, like 50 pounds of rice. That's a lot of rice. Like that's a
Yeah.
year and a
Yes.
half at least. For a family of four, that's a
Yeah.
year's worth of rice. And then you
Oh
can
yeah.
get like salmon or steak. You can ball out on the meat, just pair it up, and that's like if you're a
Yeah.
minimalist, that's good. That's all you need. But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we keep rice and we eat it several times a week. And kanji, which is also known as what we call rice soup, is a big comfort food for my wife. And it's basically, you just boil the water, and this is actually where you actually stovetop boil it instead of use
yeah.
the
Oh, the rice
rice cooker, but
porridge.
you boil it with more water, exactly. So it
Yeah.
makes more of a porridge, and then you just use a lot of pickled vegetables,
Uh-huh.
dried meats, just bamboo shoots, just whatever you can find. We always have different toppings to go on in, and that's one of become one of my favorite comfort foods too. Like I said, that's something my wife grew up on. She ate it for breakfast, they ate it for dinner. They'd eat it all the time, and over the years, I've kind of developed that as being one of my comfort foods as well.
Oh yeah. Like when I got my second vaccine, when I got my second shot for the COVID, like I couldn't hold anything down, and then my wife
Oh
made it for
wow,
me, and like that was about the only thing I could
yeah,
hold down, or at least not like immediately get rid of, but not
yeah,
like, but yeah, it
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. I
there.
got you.
I don't know. There must have just been something about it, but because that was literally like I was just like, I'm good, fantastic,
Yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah. We were
Ugh.
fortunate. I didn't really have any other. The first shot I got a little feverish, but the second one I was good. But I've heard the same
Dude,
thing. Some people reacted
the
the same way.
second one put
Had a
me
guy at
on the
work. He
floor.
was, yeah. I was about to say I got a buddy of mine at work. Yeah, he was out for about 3 days with that second one. So
Oh
it
man,
knocked him for a
I wasn't
loop. But
100% for a week
oh wow,
on the ground. I'm telling, like walking up into the refrigerator. Like so I went to the restroom to like wash my face, and then like I found myself with like cold water running over me laying in the shower. Like I don't I guess like I don't know, like it was something
yeah,
wholly
just
new. I've
bad.
never been that sick. And
Yeah,
for it to be like a
but
one day
you
wonder like that, I'm good now, but
But
oof.
I'm sure I was gonna say I'm sure you would have rather taken that than the
Oh yeah.
COVID though. So
Oh
that's the
yeah.
thing. That's what I said going in. I'm like, you know what? If I get sick from the shot, I'll deal with that because I'd rather have that than be laid up in the hospital and fighting for my life.
Oh yeah, because like my aunt, a bunch of politicians. I think, well, who was it? It was, oh my, he did the Godfather's Pizza. I think he was a black representative or an ex
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Herman Cain.
Herman Cain. Yeah, no, I
Are you
was
thinking
like,
of? Yeah,
I thought that was going to do it for Trump because a Trump rally literally killed Herman
yeah,
Cain.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's no doubt about that.
I was like,
There's
what?
no doubt
This
about
is
that.
still happening. Like nothing, no
Yeah,
pushback, no like, oh, maybe we
yeah,
should be serious. Now it's happening a little bit. Like I think Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity, I think I've heard my dad say that they both have been like really touting the vaccine, but like
yeah,
because they're realizing all of their
yeah.
supporters are going to like be like murked off pretty quick.
Right. Well, I mean, I think they're realizing too that yeah, even though you can still get it vaccinated, that the outcome is not going to be near as
You're not
bad.
dying.
And with this, yeah, and this with this Delta strain coming along, it's so much more
No, not
hardcore
even the
than the
Delta
original.
strain
So
anymore. There's a Lambda
yeah,
strain apparently that's vaccine
yeah,
like resistant. Like I'm like, fuck.
yeah,
So even
yeah,
for us that are like, oh yeah, no, even if there's a side effect, if there's like the 1% chance there's a side effect, I'll be fine. Imagine there being a side
yeah,
effect and the Lambda variants just like, oh no, that doesn't work on me.
yeah.
Sorry.
Just gonna run amok, and that doesn't bother me.
Right, exactly. So why don't you think? Because like this is something I realized myself a couple of weeks ago. A TikToker recently found out how big the state of Texas is compared to Europe,
Mm.
which is pretty much it's Europe. Like
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
my
That's
thing is like so Alabama is roughly the size of Great Britain.
yeah.
So why don't you think, besides the obvious reasons of nobody wants to live here, and which might just be the only reason, why don't more like mom and pop restaurants open up? Like what as like someone who's like really engrossed themselves into this topic, what do you
Yeah.
think is like the main, like the secondary and third cause of that besides the first?
Well, I mean, I think we have actually seen a resurgence in that. So
Mm-hmm.
even though it's still struggling here and there was a time, 5 years ago, box chain was going to, knock that mom and pop out of, just knock them out. I mean, they were going to completely shut them down. They were going to do all that and just destroy them. But I feel like, over the past 5 years or so, we've seen a kind of a resurgence. And again, I really liken it to food TV shows, and the ability, and maybe, place, things like Eating Alabama, where we're kind of spotlighting and kind of showing those neighborhood communities and in the restaurants and stuff that go along with it, and really showing the people, instead of it just being a place to go grab food. Now all of a sudden you're knowing, you're seeing the face of the place, the owners and the workers. And once you start seeing that, then you start getting that emotional connection to it. And I think I honestly feel like over the past 5 years, I think a lot of diners want that emotional connection now. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think they're tired of just going to, a fast food industry or a, chain store or just, sit down restaurant, not necessarily fast food, but any of them, and just kind of being a body that's sitting there and getting up and, eating their food and going out. A lot of places that I talk with or people that dine at certain restaurants, when you ask them, why do you like that, barbecue joint, or why do you like that little diner? Well, it's because, Miss So-and-so has been there for so many years. And every time I go in there, Miss So-and-so is going to say, yeah, how are you doing? How's the kids? How's the family? So I kind of feel like that again, it's changing. And I'm glad it is, but I think before that, and then there's still pockets where, like you said, it's hard to survive. I think it's just the nature of the people wanting something and wanting it quick and wanting it. And I wouldn't say quality, because quality's up and down, but I think it's just wanting it and wanting it quick. I mean, I really think that and maybe they trust something even though the quality may not be that great. They trust that the standard is going to be somewhat the same if they get it in another city. So instead of, rolling the dice at a mom and pop store, restaurant, where, they may feel like the food and the quality and maybe the cleanliness or whatever may not be that great. I think maybe, they just go with what they're used to.
No, but people eat at Waffle House though, so the cleanliness thing kind of goes out the
Yeah.
window there.
Well, Waffle House is a totally different thing. That's one of those like
It's so
exceptions.
bad.
One reason
I
is because,
saw one
yeah,
video. I saw a video where someone's like, if you're ever going to live in the South, you need to go by Waffle House just once. Like, why? Is there great food? No. Is it cleanly and friendly?
yeah,
No.
no,
It's
it's
just
not
you
great
get
food. No,
no, it's not so bad.
but it goes back to what I said. It goes back to what I said, a while ago. The people know what they're getting when they're going in there. So, and the fact is, it's one of the only places, if not the only place, that's going to be open at 2 or 3 in the morning. So, 9 times out of 10, if you're going to eat dinner, at the normal time, people don't go to Waffle House. But
Yeah.
if you're out late night, hanging out with friends, maybe leaving a bar or something like that, and you're hungry, that's the only place it's going to go. It's going to be only one place to be open. So that's where you head.
Now, and no, and I know we've talked about this before, but I would thinking about it over a bit more. I think the only thing that would really solidify a successful kind of restaurant, like mom and pop restaurant takeover, would be a $15 minimum wage. Because as we said
Mm,
before, a lot of these big restaurants are like they need 30 people, grind out as much money as humanly
yeah.
possible. But these mom and pop
Yeah.
restaurants literally just need to support a family of, let's say, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So you
Right.
just have mom in the kitchen, a helper in the back, dad maybe jumping around, floating around as a waiter, and a small 15 table
Hmm.
area. That's not a, that's, you can, that's feasible for like a skilled
No.
work staff. So yeah,
Yeah.
like because that's all mom and pop shops are. They like they don't hire like 7 or 8 college or high school students. They hire the
Exactly.
family.
Yeah. They may have, yeah, normally it's going to be the family and maybe 1 or 2 extra people just to kind of help,
Right.
depending on their busy time. But one of the beauties to a lot of those restaurants, and we've got one here in Hoover that is a mom and pop restaurant, and I've talked about them on my show several times. And the way they do it, it just kind of blows my mind. It's a restaurant called Blue Pacific, and it's a Thai restaurant, and probably one of the best Thai restaurants I've had, definitely in the state.
Oh,
But
interesting. Because I
they're one of these
had
restaurants.
I'm sorry to because I had the one in
No,
Montgomery next to the railroad station. I can't remember the name. The one in Montgomery.
Lek. Yeah,
Like yeah,
Lex.
yeah. So they're better than Lek.
Yeah,
Hoover,
yeah,
you
yeah,
said.
yeah,
Time out.
yeah,
Let me.
definitely.
Oh, the
Yeah.
certainty behind that. Yeah, time out. Let me
Oh no, yeah, yeah, yeah.
let me save
I've
that
been to
because I
Lex.
love a
Lex
good
is
pad
good.
thai.
Yeah, yeah. Lex is good, but going back to authentic food, I feel like that what they're doing over here at Blue Pacific is uh definitely more authentic than Lex is. Lex does have some authenticity to it, but they still do have that little twist of Americanized on it. I mean, they're hanging on
Yeah.
to a little bit. Where, like I said, to me, it's pretty authentic what you get at Blue Pacific. But what I was saying about them, though, the beauty to what they're doing is they have such a loyal following. It is
Hmm.
a mom, a dad. I want to say maybe a granddad or grandmother or something. I don't know. It's just it's them, and then they have like 2 daughters that are college age, and
Yeah.
they have a loyal following on Facebook, and they're one of these restaurants that will close. And matter of fact, they posted the other day, "Hey, we need a break. We're gonna be closed for 4 or 5 days," and you don't get people complaining. You don't get people aggravated because they can't get their pad thai or their coconut soup or whatever.
Hmm.
They're saying, "Yeah, you need this. Good job." And when they open the doors back, it's packed again. So that goes back to that community that you treat the people and you give that relationship to them. Now all of a sudden they're kind of family to you, and you love those people enough to say, I love their restaurant. Yes, I can't go there. There's been several times where I've come home and be like, I'd love to stop by there, but I knew they were closed, and because I had a taste for something. But
Hmm.
when they open back up, they're again, the door's going to be packed and people's going to be supporting them, and it's just wild. You don't see many restaurants that can sustain that type of service where they can be, and they've done it several times. One time they had a death in the family in Thailand, so they almost took off a whole month. because the family traveled,
Wow.
to
Yeah,
Thailand
that
to
happens.
attend the funeral. And again, people are upset and just jokingly, oh, I'm so sad, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, once they come back and open the doors, there's a
It's like it
line
never
out
happened.
the door, and people are, yes, exactly. It's just like, and there's very, very few restaurants I think that can do that. Nobody at a big chain type restaurant is going to be able to do that. If they close their doors, people's going to be pissed off, and then they will never, they'll never go there again.
Right.
So
That's the
yeah,
difference
there's,
between
very unique things like that.
yeah, that's like a lot that's a lot like content creators. That's the difference between having watchers and fans. Like if like a lot of
Mm,
people burn themselves out because they're like, "Oh, if I don't post a video every day or every week, I'll lose my followers. They'll go to someone else." But fans, they're going to be
right.
like, "Oh, he's back. Let's go."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely, and again, there's very few places. But going back to what I was saying, I mean, I don't know. Like I said a while ago, this 5 year swing. I don't know if 5, 6, 7 years ago that they could have done something like that. I think that the culture today understands the need for different types of restaurants like that, and they want to support them, and they want to help those family owned businesses as much as they can. Obviously Hoover's a big city, so
Yeah.
they may have a lot of patrons come in and out. Smaller towns, could that happen? I would like to think so. I mean, I know a few small barbecue joints that do that a few times a year. They'll close down once or twice a year for like a work vacation for the whole company, and or the whole
Mhm.
restaurant. So yeah, there's probably several out there, in the smaller towns, but I just enjoy seeing those type of places do well, because I feel like they're treating they're getting treated with the respect that they deserve as being restaurant owners, and going through the tough job, because it's not easy. I mean, owning a
No.
restaurant is not easy at all, and I don't think a lot of people really realize that. I think few people realize that, and I think more so do nowadays. But when you get that respect from your diners, that you can take that time off that you need so that you can reset and get back at it. It's a beautiful thing. I love seeing places like that.
Yeah, it's definitely different experiencing something at a family-run restaurant other than a corporatized chain, because it's something like
Mm,
almost crummy about it, because like again, like some family-owned, like if you have an employee that for whatever reason will that like wants to go somewhere or has a death in the family, a lot of those family-owned restaurants will be really
right.
understanding, but a majority of box chains will just be like, okay, so that means you're not coming into work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a
And the
lot, and
fact
then you
is
get
that,
walks
that,
out. I can't tell you how many of our I think see, I don't know if I should name names, but because I normally don't name names with people, but these are restaurants, so
yeah.
kind of fuck them. But I know Wendy's and
Yeah.
Santa Fe and Troy have not only had to not open at all for a couple of days in the past month, but
Wow.
uh,
Yeah.
shut down early because their employees were just sick of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, because of the work shortage, that's understandable. I mean, we've have a Jack's that's down the road, which they're good people there, and they are a box chain restaurant, and I support. Don't get me wrong. I hope people don't think I'm shitting on all the, chain restaurants and all that kind of stuff. There are some good ones out there, and we eat at some when we need to. But yeah, they have a shortage, and so they had to close down in the afternoon. So they were open for breakfast and lunch, and 3 o'clock they shut the door. And in this time where it's just a shortage, they had to do what they had to do, and you got to respect that, because they only have a handful of employees, and they don't want to work on the death. And you definitely don't want to work them so much that they end up getting pissed off and leave and go somewhere else, because then you're even going to have less workers there. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because that'll definitely happen. If there's anything we've learned this pandemic, besides we're not ready for the actual end all be all virus, it's that Or
Yeah.
we got about five bad things that can happen within the span of a year that will just cause employees just to be like, oh, because it's amazing, especially people in my age group, like even myself,
Yeah.
that close to just selling everything and living in a van. Just like a really nice van with like
Yeah.
internet and power. Like I'm that fucking close, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of people
Yeah.
are
This day and
just,
time, it's very easy.
yeah, that close. I don't even care about my house anymore, honestly. Like, or no, it's not even that. It's like living in the city doesn't really have like the wow that it used to. It's like, let me get
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
20 minutes from the city and a small,
Right.
reasonable four little 2, 3 bedroom house for like you and the Rugrats, and then that's it. Like
Yeah.
work from home, have a
Yeah.
computer,
Nowadays
work from the computer office. Like that's it.
there's a lot of times that minimalistic living. I mean, it sounds good, man. It's just like, sometimes you just need to shed stuff and, you
Mm-hmm.
know, purge and, you know, live in a small, like you said, a small trailer or van or whatever, and just kind of reassess and figure
Yeah,
things out.
there are so many people. I'm telling you, it's gonna. I'm surprised there haven't been like more reporting on it because that's all I see, honestly. Like if you get my age range on like TikTok, it's like, hey, my name is so so, and I bought an ambulance and I'm living in it, or I've bought a like so many different things. Like I can't tell you how many people are
Yeah,
converting old school buses into like these giant
yeah,
studio apartment RVs. It's absolutely crazy.
yeah. My cousin bought a fifth wheel, and he's got four children under the age of 13, and him and his wife live in that. I mean, that's what they're doing now, and eventually they want to build, but obviously with the cost of building right now, that's been postponed, if you will. But yeah, the stay in time, it's the big thing to get a trailer or a van or whatever, and just live in that for a while. Nothing wrong with it.
No, there's really not. Like it, and a lot of people, because I don't know if there's ever been like maybe the hippie movement,
Yeah,
but there hasn't really been
yeah,
something like that. And a lot of people, even that being said, haven't really been like, because there wasn't that kind of pushback as it was traditionally. I remember watching a lot of error time
right.
television where like the hippies would roll into town. They'd be like we're chasing them out or like talking. It's like, and they
Yeah,
just where do they go to the restroom or how do they clean themselves? It's like, but honestly, like a Planet Fitness subscription and you've got your shower and
yeah.
workout, like
No,
it's
and that's the
so
thing.
easy
Nowadays,
now.
it's not the same back then. Like you said, I mean, the- they lived off the land, really. I mean, and nowadays you can go to a Love's truck stop or somewhere, or any kind
Exactly.
of truck stop, and you've got a place to bathe. Um, and you can get internet pretty much wherever. You can pull up to a library or something, or
Especially like
it's just
especially with like Elon Musk Starlink coming out at the end of the year.
when Starlink hits, I
Oh,
mean
ho, ho, ho,
it's over,
ho.
man.
Oh, it's so you're telling me that I can get 150 megabits internet in the middle of the forest and like it's
Yeah, in the middle
what's
of
my
the
bat like
Amazon. I mean, not just the forest,
oh
but
my god, what's my battery requirement? Like seriously, like
yeah,
what's my battery requirement
yeah,
got to be? Like can a car
yeah.
battery
That's
can a battery that's been drove on for 12 hours power this thing all day? Because if so, game
yeah,
changer.
that's when battery technology is going to take a big jump too. I
Oh
think you'll
yeah.
see more batteries that'll hold charges, and you can be able to go days on a single charge and power all kinds of
Mhm.
you know gadgets.
Especially when Bezos gets FAA clearance for his drones.
That's gonna be wild.
You're like you have this giant Apache sized helicopter drone just dropping a couch off at your communion, the little it's your commune. Imagine drops off an
Yeah,
IKEA
just
couch and just boom.
yeah, hopefully it'll be put together because those things are headaches.
Yeah, no, it's wild. Who knows, man? So where is what is some of the, if you could describe some foods like Korean, Chinese, like what are some of the most like hell even Indian, possibly Italian, French, what are some of the more, what makes a culture's food like specific? Like what are some of the like defining characteristics of a culture's food? Because like a lot of people
I
don't
think
know that. Because like again, like you said with your mother in the Chinese restaurant, like people just want sauce poured over it some places.
right,
So
right.
and like another one, I know like the French are really big on legumes, like being like razzled over
Yeah,
their stuff, and that like there's something
yeah,
really nice about like a sandwich with like a real thick microgreen mesh in the middle. It's just mm.
yeah. I mean, a lot of them obviously are based around what what they have to provide for them on their land. So you tend to get different spices, and that's the thing. I think when you start talking flavor, you start talking about maybe the spices or uh, a certain like herb or something like that that's going to bring a different flavor to the food. You see a lot of lemongrass used in like Vietnamese cooking. You know, Chinese Sichuan peppercorn, because the spice of it. Mexico, the Latin cuisine, you obviously have a lot of peppers and stuff like that. And I think that, when you start defining it, it's usually based on what they have in their culture. What are they growing? What are the things that they harvest and how they use it? And for Asian foods, there's a big textural thing. I mean, that's one thing that I have discovered, and a lot of it's similarities. I mean, sometimes you can have something that's a little slimy or a little more chewy or maybe a little crunchier. And I have found that Asian food, um, they really hit, to me personally, I feel like they really hit a lot of the notes when you're talking about food as far as texture goes, as far as acidity goes, the salt, content of it. Um, you know, um, Cold dishes are big in Asian cuisine, which I've never really thought was good, but
Oh
or would
yeah,
be
like
good.
maybe like a cold
But
meat sandwich,
cold
like a,
dishes,
but that's it
yeah,
for
or I'm
American
just on
food.
like cold chicken. I mean, like a cold chicken dish that's maybe something that's been chilled, or a cold duck dish that's been
Mhm.
marinated in something, and obviously it's cooked, but it's chilled and comes out noodles. There's a really good Chinese noodle dish that's just cold noodles and like a peanut sauce, and it's I don't know, it's just usually when you start talking about the differences, I think to me it all boils down to the ingredients that is being used and the diversity of their fauna, or or the plants and the vegetables and stuff that they get. Those are the things that to me defines what the flavors come out of. And certain areas, again, like I said, certain areas of the world have more peppers and more, um, maybe more herbs, and those are the ones that are used in the dishes. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that makes much sense, but that's kind of my take on
Oh
it.
yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, no, I myself understand that completely. It's really, and unless you like really think about it, it doesn't make much sense. But once it's like explained to you, like you start seeing it more.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I mean, it's one of those things that if people are really interested in learning more, the internet's a wonderful thing. You start researching the ingredients that go into certain foods, and then you break down those ingredients and you start studying those ingredients. And once you start breaking down and studying them, that's when you begin to realize a lot of cultures, foods have similarities. Whether it be some kind of fat content, and acid content, some kind of salty content. Where are they getting that from? You know, what's the main ingredient that's giving um, that those flavors and flavor profiles for them. And like I said, once you start really diving into a certain recipe and digging deep, you can see that Latin foods have some similarities with Asian foods, which have some similarities with Indian food, which may have some similarities with French cuisine. You know, everything kind of has some kind of similarity because I think every culture kind of, or the body in itself, doesn't matter what country you come from, it desires certain flavors and certain things that you know, I think our body just naturally craves. And learning how, you know, they get that particular craving from one cuisine to another is very, I mean, it's very interesting how that all kind of comes together. But once you kind of dig into it and start breaking things down, you know, you start realizing that there are so many similarities across the board.
Yeah. I even remember listening to this one explanation, like a TikToker. Again, like the majority of my information now comes from like these educational TikTokers. It's kind of wild.
Yeah,
But like
yeah,
one person was talking about
yeah.
how in like one of these people, uh Jesus Christ, how one of in back in the old England, where a lot of the royalty kind of defined themselves on how much spice they could get from the Orient. So they're like,
Mm,
you were rich
yeah,
if you had
yeah,
spices. So then that made a lot of the poor people like, because you were defined how poor you are because you just had like porridge. It's like no spice, no kick, kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
bland
No
white people
flavor to
food.
it. Yeah,
Exactly. But then when
right.
spices became really cheap, that it kind of lost its exclusivity. So a lot of people stopped caring,
Mm,
and then when they like, it was so weird because it was like it was almost like on the precipice. Because if they have just ignored the expense of it and how much it actually improved their food, like
right.
everybody would be like, Karen, please don't bring the potato salad to the cookout because it's going to be like it's going to be bad. So just, you know,
Yeah,
let's have Margaret over here do it because she actually throws like a pound of paprika in there. So, you know, it's actually good.
yeah. Well, I think too, when you start talking about that kind of stuff, it's like you said. I mean, spices and salt, and you know, just salt alone. You know, it was used as a currency. I mean, you know, there was a point in time where, you know, that's how people would trade. They would trade, you know, goods or services or whatever for spices and salts. And again, like you said, that kind of gave people uh, a little bit of I don't know, made them out to be a little better than others because, you know, again, like you said, they've had those flavors that they can mix in with their foods. And then I think that for us, especially here in America, I think a lot of that basically comes from once the uh, uh, you know, immigrants started coming across, they had the lack of, so therefore, you know, they didn't have certain things that they may have had in their homeland, and therefore they had to, you know, take away from it. So I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, Americanized food had gotten so bland over the years, because unless it was somewhere like you know, Louisiana or somewhere like that, that had a direct route to the Caribbean where they got some of the spices and from
Right.
Africa. Um, you know, you know, they a lot of the mainland areas or, you know, more inland states and stuff, they just didn't have those, and they just had to kind of make do with what they had, which is, you know, if you just had some meat and made some bread, and if you had some vegetables, that's all you could do. I mean, that, you know, you do what you could do. And then over time, with the you know, the subtraction of those spices that they may have had in Europe and Asia, they just kind of just went away. And then nowadays you have a lot of people, you know, wanting to kind of get more interested in that, where, you know, in, you know, the past 100 years or more, 200 years, you know, food has just been bland. I mean, it is what it is. It just didn't have flavor to it. But I think nowadays, again, I liken it to all the shows on TV, and the documentaries come out, and books and stuff like that. People are beginning to kind of dive into that and want to try stuff, and go to the Asian markets or to the Spanish markets, or we have a Indian and halal market here in Hoover, so people are starting to venture out and try, just instead of going to their normal grocery store, and check on spices and just see things. And again, once people start researching stuff and start digging into it and want to try it for themselves, I think that's what's kind of bringing a lot of that to more to the forefront nowadays, to where people are wanting to try stuff. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Now imagine this, because like this was another thing. Again, another historian on TikTok, just a wealth of knowledge and trendy dances, truly. But there was like there was a dude who was talking about the history of hardtack, where that was what they
Mm,
mainly used in the Civil War and World War II, because it was just
Civil
so
War, yeah,
easy to
yeah.
make and it just like never goes bad. But I was
Hmm.
like, that thinking about that, I was like, you know what also doesn't go bad, which is like 50 billion times better? Kimchi. Could you imagine
Oh
if
yeah,
they had kimchi
yeah.
as their like staple
And
food
actually, it gets
instead?
better.
Oh my God. Could you imagine if soldiers had
Yeah,
kimchi instead of this, like, what is it? Sour,
yeah,
salt, flour, and water. I think that's all that is. And
yeah,
like
yeah,
garbage
yeah.
food, like no actual
Right.
nutrients. But like if you had like kimchi,
Yeah.
like holy
It was
shit,
just
that
something to
would have
keep
been
you keep
amazing.
something to put in your belly. It's all it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And there were Appalachia people in the Appalachian Mountains that would do sauerkraut. I mean, a lot of Germans
Yeah,
settled
that's
in the
pretty close.
Appalachians, so that's close as you can get to kimchi. Um, but again, I would have to
That's
think,
real close.
the
Thinking about
the
it.
ingredients for that is just salt and salt and cabbage. That's all it is. You just put a layer of cabbage, salt. So yes, it's salty and it's pickly and it's nice and ripe, but it lacks those spices that kimchi has. But
Hmm. Oh yeah.
but yeah, yeah, you would think some of those things that I'm sure that they would have loved to have had, or something like that you could just carry with you. And like you said, that stuff gets better with time. I mean, it
Yeah.
not
Because
only
like
with heart attack, that stuff just doesn't go bad, but with kimchi or anything, any kind of pickled something, it's going to just get better.
yeah, you don't want it to go bad. Like hardtack is like, wow, I wish I'd just wake up one morning, my hardtack just be inedible so that I could maybe like have permission to go hit a rabbit or something, because I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
like a
there's
lot
got to
of
be a
what we're
point where
saying
you
right
just can't
now
eat
is
it no
like
more.
so common sense. Like anyone that would hear this and agree would be like, well, because where everyone would agree, they'd be like, well, of course they should have just went ahead and ate kimchi. But also, the person who made the Hydrox originally was considered a genius for putting cream in between two crackers. It's like
Yeah, who would have thought that?
uh, everyone that's alive
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you got to think, you know, I don't know what they had back then, what accessibility to, maybe they were just too busy trying to just live off the land and survive to
Yeah,
research how to better make or better improve on some of the foods that they had.
but that's like another thing. Like, there's a what I think it's no Yuval Noah Harari. I think it's his book series. What
Hmm.
is it? Sapiens, Homo Deus, like that series that he has. And
Hmm.
a lot of other books like really drive home the point that most modern historians and oh my god, like most historians think that the invent of agriculture was just the downfall of humanity, that just hunter gatherers
Right.
literally had to spend like 20 hours a week for like bare necessity on food if the food was available.
Mm,
Like if there was like a you could like see a
yeah.
deer every day, then you only need to kill like one deer a week or so. So
Right. Right.
like
Live off that.
that's amazing. So like, but if you had to farm, then you had to not only worry about someone stealing your property or the rain kind of destroying the crop or whatever. And if you did that, you
Right.
couldn't move because all your stuff was
Or the
there.
animals.
So exactly, if
Yeah.
the animals moved, to move with the animals. Kill one and make a
Yeah.
coat. But like so many people, and then like you had the processing of grain, which apparently was like that was one of the main
Mm,
reasons like where why British people are made fun of for their teeth is because like they just ate grains all the time and porridges, and apparently the chewing of
mm.
meat actually really helps form your jawline. So like one of the fantastic
Ah,
things that Englishmen would actually find out about natives here in America is when they would go over there, they'd be fascinated how pristine their teeth were because chewing on that raw meat like that, or not the raw meat, but like just chewing meat, eating
yeah.
buffalo all the time
Chewing meat. Yeah.
would pretty much
Tough
just be a
meat because it ain't
soft
tenderized.
sandpaper. Right. Would pretty much be a
Yeah.
soft sandpaper just polishing the teeth over the course of whenever.
Mm, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really wild just how like the invent of all this stuff just kind of like we kind of like to improve, we kind of bury ourselves in a hole.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, everybody's looking for that new thing and things, I guess you 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 mix them with other uh foods or cuisines or whatever, and you come up with new ideas and the man, human nature just tries to improve on the things that you have today, and from that you just kind of get the evolution of what food is today, based on the desires of man from years past.
Okay. So you spoke about a lot how you've really noticed the resurgence of what do you call it? Have the resurgence of different mom and pop stores instead in lieu of the box chains. So just a
Mhm.
quick little thought experiment, real quick. If you was given like a magic wand and you could just like whip it and like a wit and like you could make anything happen with that situation, what would be the ratio to mom and pop and box change restaurants, and how? What do you think that would do to society as far as like just their eating experience?
Yeah. Well, I think each one has their place. I mean, it really does. I mean, like I said before, I don't, I'm not a totally anti box chain, fast
Hmm.
food type place. We do have them occasionally because there's times when, especially if we're on the road and we're traveling, and it's just, it's something that's easy, accessible, um, and we know the quality of what we're getting. So again, I think those are the things that I feel like for those type establishments, the mom and pops is like, for me, it's again, it goes back to that community, that neighborhood kind of feel. So I think they sh- really um, survive on that. Being in a small town or being in and even a bigger town, doesn't matter the size of it, but just being in an area where um, the neighbors and the community grows that relationship with them and able to kind of help sustain the business in itself. And again, you're a lot of times because of mom and pops, especially nowadays. I mean, there's still several out there, but some of the more mom and pops or small businesses that are coming around, they're looking at more sustainability ways and how to add more healthier ways to dine, and obviously that's a better option, if you will, than say the fast food wise with a lot of the processed stuff. But there's it's one of those things where I think that both are needed for their own way. But obviously, uh, I lean more towards the mom and pops just because I enjoy knowing the people that run the place. I enjoy,
Hmm.
knowing, and not saying that you can't get that from a box chain, but you know how it is. I mean, it's just a lot of that's high turnover, and the manager may not be there today. He may, maybe somebody else. So, when you're going into and I think too, another thing that a lot of people, especially nowadays, look at when they're dining at somewhere like that is that they really feel like that's going to a family. Not saying that it's not going to a family
Exactly.
that's working at
That's
a fast food restaurant, but I think they still
yes.
have that mindset that it's a corporate setting. So, there's going to be a big chunk of that money that's going up the chain. Whereas at a mom and pop restaurant, all the money is going to go to those people that are, working there, whether it be the owners and their family members, or the one or two or three other people that they just hire.
Yeah. And then that money from the mom and pop is going to go to the ballet instructor or the
Yeah,
or like the mom and pop kind of like if we were going like full mom and pop everything, it would go to the mom and pop tailor or the mom and
yeah,
pop like daycare center.
yeah. I
Like
mean,
it stays. And like again, that's another thing with like I think it was another study from a book that like point zero no, it was from Killer Mike's Netflix series where he
oh
said
yeah,
0.03% of
yeah,
money in the black community stays in the black community, and
yeah,
like 30% of the white community keeps their money, but like 85% of the Asian community keeps their money within the
yeah,
community
yeah. And
because
that's true.
you have Asian markets, you have Asian restaurants, you have
Right.
Asian hairdressers, you have Asian clothing stores, and they're not like they're barely corporate. Like
Yeah.
besides H Mart, but even that's like so small that like compared
Yeah.
to like a
It's
Walmart,
hard to
you could
say it's a
still
big time corporate. Yeah.
at least here yet in America. Absolutely.
And nowadays too, you're getting a lot of these, like I was saying a while ago, a lot of these restaurants, especially the small mom and pops, are trying to do the more sustainable, or buying from local farmers and stuff. So that's,
Hmm.
when you start getting into some of these other smaller towns, now all of a sudden, those restaurants are supporting the local farmers. And those that now that money that, when you go and dine at that establishment, that maybe your neighbor who is a vegetable farmer, and who sells to that particular restaurant, that your money, part of that's going to end up trickling down to them eventually, because again, it's one of those just community kind of based things where the insurance company is owned by a small person who owns, and it's the same thing. It's just like every little thing in that community is kind of attached to that mom and pop restaurant in one way or the other. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of
And
people really like that.
yeah, and then you can because like even Walmart itself now, they kind of like brag. It's like, hey guys, we buy from small farmers. It's like, no, the fuck, not probably not, but
Yeah, yeah. There may
I
be
can't
some,
prove
but
you're lying. It's like maybe
right,
like the
right.
watermelons you get from like a dude in Florida, but
Yeah.
like
And a lot of
if
that
you
they
were
have to do
able to
just
go,
because of the sustainability part.
yeah,
They can't
exactly,
buy it, and
yeah, you can't
it's gotta
ship it
get
in
be
from like
close because it'll be
yeah.
ruined by the time it gets there.
Exactly. But like even like if you were like at a mom and pop restaurant, they had French fries. Like let's say it's a burger joint. Like you could like literally walk up to the cattle farmer and just be like, George, I don't know what you're feeding them cows, but last night's burger was delicious. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
like you could have that little fun off little joke. And then like, I don't know what kind of knife you've got, but that steak was so pretty. Frank, that was incredible. You just walk up to
yeah.
the butcher, just make like a little joke. But like, you can't walk up to like a beef slaughterhouse employee and just be like, "Were you the one who cut that burger?" It's like, "Yeah, no, I was, but I don't work there
I
anymore
think
because
so.
they work me 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. Haven't got
Yeah,
off a day in a couple of weeks, so I don't
yeah,
work there
yeah,
anymore."
yeah. That's true. And it's like I said, that's just that community, neighborhood kind of feeling that I think everybody wants to be kind of involved in somehow, and to know that you've got a little bit of your, um, yeah, a little bit of you that is going into everything that's in that community.
They also care a lot more.
Yeah, oh, no doubt.
Like,
I mean,
like
yeah, I mean, there's something to say about people who are, you know, put everything in their heart and soul and their retirement fund or whatever into a building, to serve you some good food, as opposed to, like I said, a corporate company that's just threw it up and then somebody hired somebody to come in. You know, that they care more because again, that's their, you know, their life savings that they put into that restaurant. So it's, you know, it's a sink or swim. Whereas, you know, some of these bigger chain restaurants, it's, you know, if it sinks, then I'll just go somewhere else and get a job
Exactly.
across the
And
street.
then somebody else will see that opening. It's like, well, Margaret, you've always been pretty good at burgers, haven't you? It's like, well, I have. It's like, well, Denise failed over there because she didn't give a shit about us. How about you do it? You're loved in the community. She's like, you know what? Maybe I will. And then
Yeah.
now she's got a huge restaurant because the other person fucked up.
Right. Yeah. Exactly right.
And then instead of like Pizza Hut shutting down, and then a Jack's or a Papa John's come in and just like, oh, it's the same thing, same old thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the cycle.
Man, I'm telling you. So, but just to run back to the original point, what do you
Yeah.
think is a healthy percentage? What do you think a
Uh,
healthy percentage would be?
as far as ratio percentage, to me, I'd say at least 70-30. And I think 70% home, you know, mom and pop, and, you know, 30% corporate. Because again, you're going to need those corporate businesses,
Yeah,
and especially for that community, because I'm a firm believer, especially, you know, more so, and I hate to say that, more so, I think everybody doesn't matter. I don't want to be painted as being somebody who just really is on the side of the mom and pop restaurants. But again, going back to what we talked about, typically you know, their payroll is smaller, their employees are smaller.
yeah,
You know, they're going to need those days off. They're going to need to close that shop down occasionally. Whereas a lot of, you know, big time, you know, corporate businesses and corporate chain restaurants, they're just not going to close. And
no,
so,
they're
you
not.
know, you still need that there, you know, to kind of be there when the others can't be there. And, you know, and just hope that, you know, a company, I mean, that the, you know, neighborhood and the community loves them enough to, like I said before, with the place down the street from here, uh, Blue Pacific, you know, they're able to just close their door. And, you know, and the thing is, there's a Thai place right down from Blue Pacific, and it's really like maybe a half a mile down the road, and they still do some great business, and so does Blue Pacific. And like I said, Blue Pacific is able to close down occasionally. And, you know, it's just, I don't know. I just think in this day and time, it's good for companies to be able to do that, and to kind of take, especially in the fast food industry, or I mean, not fast food, or just restaurant industry and its general and service industry, to be able to give their employees some time, for, you know, mental days off. I mean, because
Exactly.
it's definitely needed.
Yeah, because I mean, it would be terrible just for a restaurant to just kind of burn out and then just lose them forever. Like
Yeah,
that happens so much with like content creators. Like I can only imagine it just the doubling pressure. Because like at least a content creator that may like put out a video every day, at least they could go get like a 3 or 4 hour part a day part-time job, like and really
right.
stretch it. But like a mom and pop shop, that's their income. It's like I doubt that there are much of them that like maybe they take off like a Wednesday and a Thursday, like really
Yeah,
non-busy days to
yeah.
work. But
Usually it's
I mean,
Sunday Mondays is typically
yeah,
some of the
Sunday,
you know,
Mondays,
most
yeah.
restaurants do a Sunday Monday. That's usually their weekend if
Yeah,
they're
because
doing
I
really
mean,
well.
yeah, I could imagine. Like that must be
Yeah,
that just the stress behind that. Unless the
yeah,
job's like real chill and they've really got it down, like they've really
yeah.
got the experience and it's not very stressful for them. But if they're like new and this is all like real stressful for them, I could only imagine like shutting down
Yeah,
the restaurant every now and then, especially like taking a vacation, not making everything about work. Because even then, like
right.
a lot of like especially like I don't know how old your dad is, or hell you might even yourself be like experiencing this maybe even later on, but like I know my father and my grandfather, like they both like told each other, my father tells me the same thing, it's like work is not who you are. We were made to think that when we were younger because like a plumber in the
Oh yeah,
50s was a
yeah,
plumber, like that was
yeah,
80% of his identity, is like his job. But
yeah,
like
yeah,
now that people change careers so often and just so quickly,
Yeah.
it's almost inconsequential what your job is. Just what do you do? How close is your family? Do you travel? Do you like are you like are really into like counterculture or like Marvel?
Right.
So like your identity is like what you use to entertain yourself
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Cause yeah, back then, I mean, like I said, I mean, a lot of generations and generations ago, it's like they were married to their job. I mean, it was, day and night, if you will, and no time off or very little time off. And if it
mhm.
is, it's just like, a few hours or a few, a day or so. But nowadays, you still have those people out there that are specific to something. They have a trade or they have a profession where they kind of stick to it. But yeah, the majority of people of this world, yeah, they'll jump around and find something else to kind of fill that hole.
Like I even think I heard a thing back when I was younger because I would always equate this to our principal at the time, Mr. Baker, that like your job, your profession actually sometimes dictated your last name. If you were like a
Yeah,
multi-generational
yeah,
baker, your name
yep,
was Baker. So I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
wow, so you
A lot of
literally
surnames.
were your job. So like imagine
Yeah,
if a
we were.
baker wanted to become like a metal worker. It's like, oh, no son of mine's going to work in the foundry. You're a baker. You're a baker's man. You work in the baker shop. Like what? That would be
Yeah,
wild. It would almost be like a
yeah,
TV show where it's like, I want to break out from the social norms of my family and pursue a career in art or something.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you go back to that time. I mean, a lot of people, in that time, especially if you're talking small areas or communities. I mean, you got a guy like you said, but then a person may be named Wheel because he's a wheelwright. He's the one that makes the wheels for the carts, and if you don't do it, nobody will. So you can't change your job. You can't go
Exactly.
do something else, because if you do, then there's nobody. Like, everybody has a place in that town, in that community, and each person is expected to do whatever it is that they signed up for, if you will. And you're generationally going to do that. I mean, it's going to go for hundreds of years, and that's part of keeping the community rolling.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of this is a culinary phenomenon that happens in, I believe it's Italy. It's called, I don't know what it is, but it sounds like to me it would make sense for it to be called a forever pot. It's where they have this pot of
Mm,
stew or soup that just keeps going. So it's like this
mm,
giant pot, and whenever they take out
yeah,
stuff and they get to a certain percentage, they'll just pour more ingredients back in it, and it'll keep going.
yeah, yeah.
So I've always really found those fascinating. Have you heard like because I'm honestly I would love to try it. I don't know if anyone does that here in the South or anywhere in the States, but have you heard of anyone that does that?
I don't know of anybody personally that does that, but I have heard familiar stuff. There are some like ramen places in Japan that do something
Yeah.
similar, to where they have, a rolling stock of ramen broth, and like, as
Yes.
it
Yeah,
gets
kind of like
low,
that.
you put in the ingredients and just continue to boil it, and it just kind of,
Hmm.
maybe I don't know if they close shop and go home for the night, if they just, put it in the refrigerator, whatever, but it's
No, no,
just
it keeps
continuous.
going.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just like they keep adding like and I'm
But
sure
yeah.
like I'm sure in like a year they would have to like switch it over to a new pot and clean the old one because I mean God knows what it like God knows if like you scoop all the way to the bottom and find like
Oh
rusted
no, yeah, there's going to be some sludge. I mean, you may do that every week. I mean, if it's going, it's still going. So it doesn't matter if you change pots or what. I mean, it's
it's
in
still
my
going,
opinion, it's
yeah.
still continuously going. Yeah.
But then you get into the whole ship of Theseus, I believe, conundrum. I believe it's called the ship of Theseus. Then you
Hmm,
get to that
not familiar with
conundrum.
that. Yeah.
So it's the ship of Theseus is pretty much where let's say you have a ship owned by a man named Theseus, and he rides that ship around
Uh-huh.
everywhere. And let's say you take apart the pieces that need to be broken, like the pieces that are broken need to be replaced. Let's say like the mast for the main sail needs to be replaced. So you take out that mast and you put it over here. You put on a new
Mm,
mast, and then the bow, and then the railings, and then everything else. So you take all the parts that
okay.
need to be replaced and you throw it over here in this pile, and then you have this
Yeah.
new ship. Which ship is the ship of Theseus? Because if someone
Oh,
built
I
that
got you.
ship, even though it's broken and can't run, is that the ship
Right.
of Theseus, or is the ship that Theseus is currently on the ship of Theseus?
Yeah, I got you. I
So like
got you.
it gets to a point like I could understand like halfway full, but if you're like a gallon left in a 100-gallon pot, like is that really the same ramen, buddy? Like I
Yeah.
don't think you I don't think you can convince me. Like
I
if
think
you're
it may have
like
changed.
yeah, if you're like 50 gallons, if you like every 10 gallons down, pour 10 gallons in there, you can convince
Yeah.
me for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think
I
there's
just gotta
some
know
of
it was
those
good.
yeah, exactly. But like some people
Yeah.
like that because like especially like even like in bonsai trees, like they're like this bonsai tree is 600 years old. And you're like, holy shit. But
Yeah.
like there are some pots in
Yeah.
Italy, like a fabled pot that's been going for the past 100 years or something like that. I'm like, oh,
Right.
100-year-old soup. That shit sounds good. Like imagine pulling up
Yeah.
100 pot of year old a jar of kimchi and just be like, ooh,
Oh
hell
yeah. There's
yeah.
a place in Memphis called Dyer's. It's a burger joint on Bill Street in Memphis, and they have rumor has it, or at least they say that they fry their burgers and the grease is like over 100 years old. It's like one of those things where they clean it
I don't know
and
about that.
I don't know. I had the burger there and
Uh,
it's fantastic, but they say it's they clean it, they do all the stuff to it, and and they just add to it obviously because it disintegrates. I mean, disintegrates, it evaporates, but
yeah,
yeah, that's kind of the thing that
maybe.
make them. But whether it's true or not, it could be gimmicky. But like I said, I've had it. Burger's pretty solid.
Yeah, that's real interesting right there because like that's a little bit different than the rolling soup and the
Yeah,
kimchi
yeah,
like
yeah,
burger grease. That's kind of weird, but you know what?
yeah.
It's not a clear
Well, I
health
mean, if
hazard. It's not like the government
no,
says that old grease causes cancer. So I mean, yeah, sure, as long
no,
as it's like up to health
yeah,
standard, yeah, sure. It just sounds a bit off-putting.
right. No, you just have to clean it and filter it and get all the impurities out of it.
Mhm.
Once you do all that, I mean, all's all. I mean, it should be good.
Now, speaking on those unique eating joints we were talking about, have you ever been or heard? Because I know I've watched a lot of K dramas recently, especially where they'll go
Mhm.
down to the beachfronts. I believe they had an example in the Crazy Rich Asians movie where there was this
Mm.
like boardwalk of restaurants, and they were all booths where this family practiced this not menu, but a single food, and
Mm.
that's all they did. Have you
I've
ever
heard of
heard of
that. Yeah,
anything? Yeah. I was
I've
like
heard of something
always
similar. And it may be from that, but yeah, from that movie. But yeah, I've heard that they
like
specifically, like
imagine
I
a
said, just work
family
on a specific
dedicating a
thing and
hundred
perfecting it.
years. Yes.
Yeah, to be the to perfect it and be the ones that offer that and nobody else can do it because
Right.
your family's been
Imagine.
doing it for so
Imagine
long.
what that's gonna taste like. Because you would have
Oh
to
yeah.
get down to like you would have to get down to like how the wheat is grown.
Oh yeah.
You'd have to be
Yeah,
like the
that's one of those
soil
that you could
texture, the
really
acidity. Like you'd have to really
you
get
could
into the
really
science of it.
break it down to yeah, some of the minute kind of details of it because that's all you're working on. So yeah, I mean it would
Yeah. Because I
be
mean,
be
technique
kind
can
of, I
only
don't say
take you
easy, but
so
I mean,
far.
yeah. Then they got to start figuring out ingredients and how you can,
Mhm.
you know, kick those up and change that and what if you do this, how what's the flavor profile? How does it change it when you do it
Exactly.
this way? How do you change it when you do it that way? So and get it dialed
Like
in.
they're like, these peppers we found are taste the absolute best when grown in crushed lava rock with spring water from that mountain. Like, imagine getting down to that detail. Just
Only
crazy
on this
shit.
time of the year, the second
Exactly.
week of April. That's the only
Exactly.
time we can harvest them.
You have to yeah, you have to pick it at 4 o'clock on a full moon on a
Yeah.
Tuesday, and that's it. Like, that's the best, man. So, quick last question here for you.
Yeah.
You know what? I lost the question. Holy shit! But I'll cut this. I'll cut this part out. Let's try to think of something else real quick. It'll come back to me. But damn it, that was a good question too. I was upset about
Yeah.
that. Um,
It'll come back.
it'll come back. I'll ask it later and plug in. If I'll catch you later on. We will have to about
Yeah.
end it here. I've got a couple of beeps here. I've been trying to be inconspicuous as possible, but let's do this. I'll contact you later.
Good.
We'll redo it, but let me get you right here. Oh my God, I can't think of anything. Okay, fuck it. Where do you want all of this to end? Like, what's the end goal for Eating Out Alabama?
Eating Alabama would probably, for me, obviously with the podcast, I would definitely love for it to jump off to the point to where I can do this on a regular, and obviously with the content that we do with Instagram and Facebook and the blog, would go along with it. But that's kind of a goal. That would be the area where I could quit my day job and kind of really focus on doing it right and doing it the way I want to do it. Instead of, one of the big stresses or big, struggles that I have at time is the fact that, I got a 9 to 5, a 7:30 to 5 job. And, even though I do have some flexibility with my company that allows me to go off and do things like with Eating Alabama, there are times where I may need a few days off, but if I could do it where I could just wake up and just go, hey, I'm going to drive to, I don't know, to Fort Payne, Alabama today and just, contact some of the local establishments there and maybe set up a podcast and interview them. And then maybe another day, just say, I want to drive to Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and just, kind of do the same thing there. And to be able to just kind of dictate when I can do it instead of having to schedule it around, my job. That would be ideal for me. And I feel like that if I could do it that way, I can really, my listeners and followers would definitely benefit from that because I can give them better quality. Not saying that my quality is not great, but obviously it would step it up. And so yeah, that, and, maybe one day we could get to the point to where we can, kind of brand it to where we can, have a eating Georgia and an eating Tennessee and an eating Florida, and who knows, kind of grow it into a national brand, with other uh, content creators in other states kind of doing the same thing that we're doing and kind of propping it up that way and kind of diving in and really concentrating on those small mom and pop places, to kind of help give them some social media presence and give them a little spotlight that they would normally not get.
Have you ever thought of taking this international? Because like I could see you taking like a month to a different country.
Oh, I would absolutely love that. That is definitely something that I've never thought about, but
Oh,
we have, like I
absolutely.
said
Are you
before,
kidding?
my wife is, my wife had grew up overseas, so there's a lot of times we've talked about going back to, to Rome where she lived, or Vienna, or somewhere like that, or Paris where her parents lived for a while, and just go visit some of the places that she used to where she grew up, but at the same time, obviously take Eating Alabama along and kind of, you know, who knows, plug in, like you said, plug in some places and get some international interviews and stuff like that with some pretty cool,
Yeah, no,
local
because
small
even then,
restaurants in some communities.
yeah, because even then you could like inspire, like you could take like a practice and be like, wow, that'd be really good for Rachel, or that'd be a really interesting aspect for Ron to throw in his cooking. Like you could like take
Right.
from those countries, like maybe not even the big places. I'm not talking about like going to like Michelin star restaurants, but like the local mom and pops that
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
may
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
those
Local mom and
hundred
pops.
year
Yeah.
old secrets.
Those are more approachable kind of places that, yeah, that they have some, some deep roots in. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Mhm. Yeah, man. Well, hey, look, it has been great talking to you. I can't wait to hear more from you.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate it,
Just
man.
any
Yeah.
kind of like stuff you want, like any kind of recommendations, throw them out. If you've got any type of like really specific, like inspirational or restaurants that really like shine brighter than others, and you like any shows you've had on yours, I would love to have them on mine just to like talk about like their stuff and what they do and why they do it, because like that's something I really want to do with this podcast is, even though it kind of comparatively could be called a flaming trash pit. Alabama can be a lot better than what it is culturally,
It really
financially.
is.
Like it really is, but it could be so
No,
much
it's
more.
it's not as bad as what people think. I mean, there are obviously like many places in the world and in the other states there are, like you said, flaming piles of
Yeah,
trash
we
everywhere.
do have
But
Mississippi, so I
Alabama is
can't
really a great.
really. I
Yeah.
can't. I can't. Some
And
parts of Florida,
Mississippi's got some great cities,
but we're
man.
literally, again, to reiterate, the same size comparatively as Great Britain. Guys, this, come on. We should literally
Yeah.
be like every state in America should be a top 50 contender economically. Like
Oh
we're
yeah,
that big.
definitely.
We're
Yeah.
that big. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. All right, man. Well, hey, look, it's been great having you on. Tell
Yeah.
everybody
Appreciate you
where
having
they
me,
can
Rob.
find you out.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Just do a search for Eating Alabama. You can also check out our website, eatingalabama.net, and the podcast, Eating Alabama, where I sit down and talk with chefs and business owners and social media influencers and just pretty much anybody in the food and beverage industry, pretty much in the state of Alabama. You can find it pretty much wherever you find your podcast on Apple iTunes, on Spotify, Google Play, wherever. You just search Eating Alabama and you'll find us. Give us a follow, check us out, and you know, let me know what you think.
All right, man. Well, hey, man, look, it's been great talking to you. We'll talk to you later. See you,
All right, Brock.
everybody.
Appreciate it, man.
Bye.
All right.